Welcome to On the Spectrum. I'm your host, Terry Matthews, and this is the show where we inform you, entertain you, and educate you, yes, about all things autism. We like to call it Prescription TV. Joining me today on the show is Robert Schumus, who I'm ecstatic that he's here because he is a gentleman that's living with autism and he has so much to share and inform us today. And I'm hoping that you're going to get just as much out of this as I've gotten so far. So welcome to the show, Robert. How are you?
I'm doing very well. It's a pleasure to see you, Terry.
So I know that this is a big deal with all the lights and all the cameras and everything that's going on that's around us. And I want you to know, as I shared with you off camera, you know, this is your time. This is your moment. So Robert, there are a couple of questions that I think our audience, even myself, which I really want to hear because, as you know, I have a child that's on the spectrum, and just you being here under all these lights and all these cameras and all the noise is inspiration for me. So again, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm so happy to be here.
So you are diagnosed with autism, correct?
Yes.
And when were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed when I was around 15 years old.
15.
Mm-hmm.
And what did that feel like? What was that process to even get to the point? Because some kids are diagnosed when they're younger. It's interesting to hear at 15 you were diagnosed. What made your family, or was it you that raised your hand that said, hey, there's a different situation, I need someone to look at me?
Well, it really starts when I was really younger. For instance, like I've always known that there was something different about me. Like I had like lack of social skills. Like I was able to have some friends, but it was hard for me to maintain that social connection. And you know, I learned differently. I learned visually. I also had narrow interests. There's sensory issues, like all like loud booming noises in enclosed space was sensory for me, and just a lot of things that I knew was different about me, but I had no idea. And it got to the point where also my anxiety was so severe that I had to be seen by a doctor at a hospital at 15. And the doctors told me that, you know, Robert, we feel that you have Asperger's syndrome, which is part of the autism spectrum. And when I found out the symptoms of Asperger's and autism in general, I was like, oh my God, everything makes sense.
So Robert, what was that feeling to hear that you've been diagnosed with autism? What did that feel like?
Well, first it was something that, you know, that I really wanted to know more about, but overall it was a relief, like a milestone for me to get that, because now I know what I have. I know what I have, and I know not only what I have, but there's other people like me.
So when you were diagnosed with that, did that change your typical routine, or did it help you feel less stressed because now you could associate, well, I have these narrow interests because I'm autistic, instead of trying to be like all of your other peers, especially at the age of 15?
You know, I was able to see you know, that basically I'm able to now know what I have, and you know, it was less stressful for me, and it was very much a relief for me to know that I am autistic, and that's why I have these symptoms.
So I mean, this is going to sound a bit crazy probably, but you know, normally when we are diagnosed with something, some of us keep it internally, or then some of us share it all out loud. Did you like run out to all your friends and go, hey, I'm autistic, this has been my challenge? Or was it something that once you found out, you just quietly kept the diagnosis inside and understood how to deal with you and didn't share it with anyone?
I think for that, the thing that I did is I didn't do it right away, because I want to educate myself on it.
Okay.
I really wanted to educate myself on more about what I have. Like it's more like kind of a self-perspective. And then once I was able to learn more about it, then I was more open about it.
Would you say that autism in your life as a teenager, and now you're an adult, right? So I'm assuming, are you out working? Do you feel like autism has limited you in any kind of way? And if so, how?
In the beginning, like especially when I was like the transitional, like not educational, but vocationally, like it was hard because it was hard, like even in high school, to get like a summer job. Like the really first type of like part-time job during my school years was as a janitor at my high school. This was during college. But however, I feel that or what I do right now, it's given me a good perspective on what we can do as a population.
So tell me, what is it that you do today?
I am an LCSW. I work licensed clinical social worker. I work as a therapist at a residential home in Burlington County, New Jersey. It's for adolescents with developmental disabilities, most of which have autism, and who are in crisis stabilization.
Can I give you a high five?
Yes.
You know, that is so amazing, because you said you did the janitorial work and now you're an LSW and you are helping other individuals. Something that no one potentially would think would happen with a kid that's on the spectrum, right? Mm-hmm. Especially when you've had some of these challenges. What do you feel is the most difficult thing in a community, a population of people where we don't know as much as we should about autism? What feelings, or what would you want to explain to people when they come across a person that's diagnosed with autism? Like, what would you want them to know?
The best thing I want them to know is to listen. And then not only that, but we are so vast and diverse. Mm-hmm. Like, you have those on the spectrum with more cognitive difficulties, and then you have those who are, you would say, higher functioning. And so we're so diverse, and you can't just put us in one category.
Right.
Like, I know in the past there's been many people who've put like autism as, this is autism, this is just autism, but which is absurd, because have you ever talked with someone on the spectrum? Have you ever touched someone on the spectrum? Have you ever really listened to someone on the spectrum?
How do you feel that your job has been, I would say the value that you have brought to your job, in my mind, would be because you are on the spectrum. How do you think being diagnosed with autism has helped you in your job?
Well, I can definitely give that perspective of me being on the spectrum, mm-hmm. but I can also see the different areas of the spectrum. Like, I've worked with youths who have like I guess cognitive difficulties or nonverbal, and I've worked with those who are more higher functioning, more on the or with Asperger's. But either way, I can, even though like every person is different, they have different experiences, different struggles, different obstacles than what I ever had, I can bring that perspective as someone on the spectrum to show them that, we can get through this.
So let me say this: you are hope. You are hope sitting right here in front of me, and you are hope for so many people that are watching. What would you like to say to parents who may have a kid on the spectrum, where maybe they don't see this happening for their kid? What word of encouragement or advice would you give them to deal with, you might have a kid on the spectrum, but hey, they can be more than a janitor?
I could tell them, just listen and know that your child has strengths, mm-hmm. and use those strengths to the greatest perspective, because if we just focus on where they're at and focus on the strengths that they have, whether they're for instance, their narrow interests, mm-hmm. then using that as a positive and working towards using that to make them successful through the obstacles they face, and to encourage them, support them, and gain them the skills they need to be independent and be on their own, that's something to always keep in mind and always focus on.
Well, let me tell you, I think that's extremely important, because when you have a kid on the spectrum and they have narrow interest, I remember at points in times, because of lack of understanding, I wanted to introduce my son to so many things. I wanted him to do other things, and I thought by doing that it was beneficial. And eventually I had to learn that I had to allow him to be him and support him during those time periods where his interest might be on Pokemon for a long time, or building for a long time, or drawing for a long time, but just helping him identify what his strengths were and encouraging him in that process. So I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I didn't have to go to a therapist and spend $300 to hear that from him. So I do want to say, how do you feel like you advocate? Do you advocate now for people that are on the spectrum, and how do you do that?
Yes, I do. I advocate for those on the spectrum. I'm part of an organization called Ascend, which is an autism awareness organization for the greater Philadelphia area. I've also done speaking engagements for Drexel, for CHOP, for many other organizations and at colleges. I'm something that and what I do is one of the focal points I have is on transition from adolescence to young adulthood, and show them that that we need to build resources to help these individuals grow into successful adults.
So if there was one thing that you could ask without limitations for the world to change in some sort of way to help the population of people diagnosed with autism or their families, what's that one thing? If there was one thing you wanted the world to know or do differently than what they do today, is there something that's out there that you would suggest that we do or learn or be or create that's different to help individuals diagnosed with autism?
The best thing I feel is for just stop, listen, see where they're at. By doing that, you can hear the families and the individuals out what they want to succeed in, such as like they want to go to college, they want to get a job, they want to live on their own, and make that a focal point of their goals.
So that person that's on the spectrum, to me, what it would sound like is that our city and state officials, our government officials need to hear this and also need to provide services that support those individuals that are living on the spectrum and obviously their families.
Absolutely.
I am so excited for you being here today.
Yes.
And again, you've poured more hope into me. I'm not sure if you're comfortable saying this on camera, but if you are, how old are you, might I ask?
I'm 29 years old.
Okay, you're 29. And did you go through the whole college experience?
I did, 4 years.
You went to college for 4 years?
Yep, at Concordia College in Westchester County, New York. And then I actually went, and then for social work was a major. And then from there I went to grad school at the University of Pennsylvania's advanced standing in social work for 1 year.
And did you find going to college difficult? Did you live in a dorm? Did you have dorm mates, or did you live at home still?
When I went to college, that was the time where I grew socially. Like, I was able to gain so many social skills. Like, there's people out there who say, oh, college is 4 years of your best 4 years of your life. You can get that anywhere. Mm-hmm. But for me, it was different. It wasn't just that. It was that I was able to gain friends. I was able to gain social skills. I was able to gain such an experience which helped me to grow up. I was able to have an internship. I was able to gain more confidence in myself. Like, most of the friends that I have, they were from when I was in college.
Wow. Did you suffer any time during your diagnosing time that you were diagnosed with autism in college or in high school, ever from bullying at all? When people didn't quite understand your uniqueness, your talents, your abilities?
From what I can remember, I guess there were times where people just didn't understand. Mm-hmm. But I remember this one specific experience. It wasn't when I was in college. It was somewhere else a few years ago. I don't remember where, but I remember I was disclosing myself to someone, and they told me, people are really taken aback by that.
So I'm going to get a little bit in your business, just a little bit. Can you tell me, have you dated?
Yes, I actually currently have a girlfriend right now who I've been dating for over 2 years.
Is she on the spectrum?
Yes, she is.
So how did that come about?
Well, where we met at a group in Montgomery County. I found this group a few years ago. It's called Socializing on the Spectrum. It's run by a woman named Nancy Kleinberg. And where I live right now in South Jersey, there wasn't many of these social groups for adults on the spectrum, and this was the closest one. And what we do, we host events, mostly at Miss Kleinberg's house, and it's a very nice time. I love going to them, and I met her there. That's where we met.
So I have to ask you this question because, again, I think that this helps with our audience, whether people are raising individuals on the spectrum or maybe somebody out there who's on the spectrum who thinks that dating isn't possible or relationships aren't possible, what advice would you give to someone who, such as yourself, wanted to have an atypical relationship? What would you recommend they do to even explore that?
Really, what I see is just help them, like, just listen to what they want and know that it is possible. Like, there's people I've known on the spectrum who've been married, who even have children, and it can be difficult. I'll be honest, it can be difficult, but it is possible.
So what's the difficult part? What's difficult maybe in your own relationship with dating?
I guess from my experience with my current relationship, is that really, the differences and understanding, like, changes in schedule is kind of a struggle. But I guess from experience, at the end of the day, all relationships have, like, those
Yes,
bumps in the road,
Bob.
as you can say. Yes,
They definitely do.
But overall, if you just talk it out and really know that, by the end of the day, you love this person, and it's that, as they say, if you love them at their worst, you can love them at their best.
Well, I just want to say this before we close out. First of all, again, thank you even for sharing that. I know that's your personal business, but I think this helps not only me and provide additional hope for me and my own child, but I'm hoping for individuals that are either out there raising children that are on the spectrum, or adults currently that are on the spectrum, that through this conversation that they have an opportunity to see it is possible. Love is possible, right?
It is.
Going to college is possible. Working and getting a real paycheck is possible. So with that being said, just if I can ask you, what do you feel are your greatest strengths, and what do you still feel like are your challenges?
Well, I can start with the challenges first. I still have issues with anxiety. I still have, a bit of obstacles in regards to social skills. But my strengths are, I'm highly empathetic. I love to learn. I have a great work ethic, and I'm excited for the future.
Listen, I think that's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate
you. Thank you so much.
I think that the world, when they see this, they're going to have an opportunity to start erasing stigmas when it comes to individuals on the spectrum.
Oh.
Okay?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I've been searching for houses for 2 years to figure out how to build a place for Jaden with me for long term. And you just gave me a whole nother perspective. Even though I know that God is capable, I see so many things that he's capable of doing. And sometimes I wonder if I have the skill set or if I give him the right resources to help him become the very best person he can be.
You're doing the best you can. That's all that matters.
Thank you
You're
so much.
listening to him. You're a wonderful mother, and you are his strength. He's gonna do great. I can see it.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, I need to get my face together.
Okay.
So we hope during this session of Let's Talk that you found valuable information. For more information like this, we would like for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/onthespectrumtm, or feel free to log on to our website at www.onthespectrum.tv, where you can get downloadable resources. That's all the time we have, but see you next time on The Spectrum. So amazing. And LSW.
LCSW.
Yeah, well, one of them. I don't even know how to pronounce
It's all
it.
right. It's all right.
And
Thank you.
you you took off your glasses?
Yes. You're gonna do great.
Thank you.
You have a beautiful house, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. So hopefully you'll be joining us more.
I would love to.
Okay.